Okay, year 8, so you're going to need your photograph in black and white. If you've managed to do that, you're going to need a pencil, a rubber, you possibly might need a ruler, and later on you are going to need some highlighters or a brightly coloured pen, or a coloured pencil will be absolutely fine. Okay, so if you remember from our last lesson, we looked a lot at perspective, and we were looking at 1 and 2 point perspective. Now my picture that I've got here, if you look at it, is a 1 point perspective. The lines, if they continued, would go off the phone, and the vanishing point would be somewhere over here. So those lines of the flats would continue and the vanishing point would be over here. Remember, the vanishing point is where we can't see anymore. Okay, so you don't have to draw all of this. Okay, I'm going to try to see how far I get. It might be you just want to do part of it. We're working in the style of Laura Oldfield Ford. Okay, so we're going to add those elements of colour over the top of our pencil drawing. Okay, so I'm going to start with my the top of my flats, and actually, do you know what I need to do first is actually check the angle, and it's a lot more slanted than I thought actually. So I'm going to draw that line there. I'm going to double check it again, because I think, yep, I'm not doing it quite as slanted as I need to. I need to be a bit braver. So let's see how that one is. A little bit more. What about that? But a little bit of line there. Okay, so that's the top of my flat. Okay, bottom, if I put my pencil to my picture, goes there. Okay, and remember, this is going to go off the page. So I'm going to draw a straight line going down, because I can see that on my flats. So any lines, okay, on the building are dead straight, all these lines across here. So I'm drawing a straight line. So you might want to use a ruler for that part. And I can see some of the windows and the part of the balcony, and most of the time you will notice is that, if you have a look here, is that the further something goes away from you, the smaller it becomes. So the windows are actually quite wide, okay, then they go a little bit smaller. Okay, so I need to make sure that I'm showing that in my work, and that will show that it's 1 point perspective as well. Okay, so I'm going to make them a little bit smaller each time, getting a little bit narrower. Okay, something like that. I've got this line in the middle where the flat's sort of divided, so I need to make sure that I get that angle in, and it is quite a slopey angle. Try and get that in there. Okay, I need to check that. I don't know if it's quite right. No, I need to have it a little bit more at an angle. And you notice the lines I'm doing are really nice and light. It makes it quite easy for me to rub those out. Let's check this again then. Yep, I'm happy with that. Okay, now I can start to get in some of the other lines of the flat. So remember, all the lines are going to go to my vanishing point over here, and this is going to be off the actual picture. My picture will probably stop about here, I think. Okay, but it helps me to get my lines in. Okay, like I said, you might like to use a ruler. I had a bit of an accident with my ruler. It fell down the back of the bookshelf and I haven't been able to get it. I will try this week. Okay, so all my lines go into that vanishing point, and I've got these ones here too. That's kind of, that's the bottom of the flat there. Okay, right, good. I'm going to try and get in some of my other sort of features. I wanted to get in these bins. It was actually really hard going around Southampton, so I wanted to find something that had maybe a bit of rubbish, or was a bit overgrown. Everything was looking very, very tidy actually. I was pretty impressed, but I think because of the lockdown there was a little bit of rubbish about, because people have probably been having a bit of a sort out. Okay, now all those lines that I've drawn here, I need to make sure that they would go to that vanishing point as well. Okay, I don't actually need those lines on there. Okay, but that's the idea, is that they would go, all those lines would go to that point. You might be drawing something that's quite flat, so you don't need to worry too much about the perspective, but because we did it in our last lesson, if you're feeling that you're up for the challenge, then, you know, really have a go with it. Okay, I've got all my sort of basic lines out now. I do need to get a bit of that, need to make sure I've got the edge of the block, and then I've also got like a path. Again, I'm going to need to check this angle, a bit of grass there as well. Let's have a look at that angle. Let's come over a little bit more. Okay, so now I've got all my basic shapes, I can start thinking about tone. Now we've done lots of work on tone. Okay, so I think I'm going to start at the top up here actually, and it's quite dark. It's quite dark at the top. If you just have a look at this window here. So I'm going to make sure that I do a nice dark line, trying to keep it nice and straight. And then it's like a mid-tone, it's a little bit lighter. If I find that my work's getting a little bit liney, okay, and I don't want those lines in there, what I can do is just go over in the other direction to even them out a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to do the next window here. It's got a dark shadow at the top like the other one, and it's a mid-tone, so I'm going to try and get that in. Again, I felt it's a little bit liney, so I'm just going to go over just to eliminate some of those lines, make sure I've got nice sharp corners, because it is architecture and there's lots of angled lines, and I'm going to continue with that. The next thing, once I've done all of that and I'm happy with it, there might be other bits that are a bit more complicated. So I'm looking at the paving at the moment, and I'm noticing that it really does vary. There's these lines. Again, all my lines would go to my vanishing point, so I can start to draw my slabs on here. So you can see straight away, you've got a sense of perspective. And again, like I said before, the lines nearest to you, these ones are going to be wider. Then they get slightly smaller each time as they go towards the vanishing point. Okay, getting slightly smaller each time. Okay, because they're getting further away from you. But what I was going to say is I really noticed that these lines have kind of like, there's little bits of kind of overgrown, where the weeds have got in between, there might be a bit of rubbish. Okay, when you do a line and it changes, it's called weight of line. So it goes really dark, this line, then it goes a bit lighter, then it goes really dark again. Okay, so think about the lines that you're doing, how you can show tone within them and variation. So on this slab here, I've got kind of a couple of little darker bits, very, very light bits as well. Okay, so this will really help to look in the style of the artist too. Okay, she features all these overgrown kind of parts, and I was really interested in that part, as well as the kind of new and old. I did find it quite difficult going around Southampton, actually looking for that comparison of new and old, somewhere within walking distance anyway. Okay, right, I want you to make a start, draw your vanishing point, okay, make a little dot, put vanishing point there, even if your picture ends before it, like mine's probably gonna be cut off there, okay, and I'll probably end up rubbing that part out. Okay, so it might be that you're not doing something with a vanishing point, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to do a bit more of this, and then I'm going to show you how to put onto your colour. Okay,